And we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. We are working out some last minute kinks here and letting folks join the Zoom.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a todo el mundo. Ahorita todavía estamos terminando de ver unos detalles técnicos y esperando que se unan más personas a la reunión, pero para que sepan si vamos a tener un servicio de interpretación disponible hoy.
Constance, were you able to assign the interpreters? Oh. Constance is not at her desk. Jorge, can you do it?
A lot of these people are like smaller agencies.
No, I'm not able to.
Constance? Can you assign the interpreters, Constance?
I did. They didn't get anything.
No, Elizabeth and I haven't received the notification.
So it's Nico and Elizabeth.
Nicola?
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. So no one received it?
Lluvia has received it. Just Elizabeth Interprete and Nicola.
Just got it. Just got it. Thank you. I don't know if Elizabeth did as well, but I just received mine.
No.
Let me add her again.
No, I haven't for some reason. I don't see it.
Okay, I sent it to you, Elizabeth. Did you get it? I sent it to you again.
And Elizabeth, if you accept it already, maybe you can do a reaction or a thumbs up or something to let us know.
She did. She
Cool.
got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Cool. I
Great.
think we're good to go on the interpret.
Thank you for bearing with us. I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. Welcome everyone to Turns Power at Home training number 2, staying connected after COVID. Before I begin, I want to allow Nico, one of our interpreters, an opportunity to share some information about the interpretation function. Bienvenidos todos al segundo taller de la campaña de Turn, Poder en Casa, manténgase conectado después del COVID. Antes de comenzar, voy a pedirle a Nico, una de nuestras intérpretes, que comparta por favor información sobre la interpretación en Zoom.
Thank you, Gabriela. Good afternoon. My name is Nicola. I'm an interpreter for this activity. I wanted to give you a little bit of information on how to use the Zoom interpreting function. Muchas gracias, Gabriela. Mi nombre es Nicola y soy una de las intérpretes para esta actividad. Solo quería darles un poco de información sobre cómo utilizar la función de Zoom. En el fondo de la pantalla verán un globo terráqueo. Pueden oprimirlo y ahí aparecerá la opción para conectarse en inglés o en español. So at the bottom of your screen, if you're on your laptop, you should see a globe icon. You can click this and then select whatever language channel you would like to listen to the interpreting. If you're bilingual in English and Spanish, you don't have to select either. Si usted es bilingüe en inglés y español, no tiene que seleccionar ninguno. Si está conectado a través de su tablet o de su iPhone, va a ver en la parte inferior de su pantalla 3 puntos, oprima los 3 puntos, luego va a haber un menú con la opción interpretación, selecciona interpretación y luego el idioma que prefiere. If you're on your phone or tablet, you will see 3 dots. Click on the 3 dots. You will see a menu option appear. It says interpretation. Click interpretation and select whatever language channel you prefer. If you don't see any of these options, for instance, if you're on the phone, you will not be able, or if you're just on the phone not using the app, you will not be able to use the interpreting function, unfortunately. But if you are using the app, either on your tablet or phone or computer and don't see them, please message one of us or Jorge, who I believe should be waving his hand somewhere. Jorge from Turn, who is the technical person for this activity, to let him know. You may need to reinstall Zoom to use the feature and update it to the latest version. Si usted nos acompaña a través de la app, bueno, si está acompañándonos por teléfono sin utilizar la app, no va a poder utilizar la función lastimosamente, pero si está utilizando la app, ya sea en su laptop, teléfono, tablet y no ve ni los 3 puntos ni el globo terráqueo, puede que tenga que reiniciar y volver a instalar la versión de Zoom y actualizarla. Si eso no funciona, también puede escribirle a uno de nosotras o a Jorge, que trabaja para Turn y va a ser la persona encargada de asuntos técnicos para esta reunión. Así que no sufren silencio. Okay, muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nico. And thank you to Lluvia and Elizabeth also for working with us today. My name is Gabriela Sandoval. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as Director of Strategic Initiatives with the Utility Reform Network. And I know everyone is joining us from lots of different places today. So I'd like to actually begin by acknowledging that I am speaking to you today from the occupied land of the Tongva people. I'm joined by my colleagues, Jorge and Constance, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jorge Rivera. I am the organizing and advocacy coordinator with Turn, and I am out of Southern California, and I live in occupied Tongva territory.
Hi, everyone. My name is Constance Slider-Pierre. I'm the organizing director at Turn. I use the pronoun she, her, hers, and I am joining you from the Ohlone Chenyeko occupied territory.
Thank you both. Jorge will be managing the chat box for us today, as you know, and Constance and I will be sharing lots of information with you that will hopefully be helpful to you in your work. At Turn, we believe that no one should be cut off from essential utility service, gas, phone, or internet service either. We hold utility corporations accountable by demanding fair rates, clean energy, and strong consumer protections. We are particularly concerned with what will happen once the current utility moratorium ends, because there will be hundreds of thousands of people who will be eligible for disconnection at that time. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. Just in case anyone has not had the pleasure of being in a Zoom call before, Everyone is currently muted, and please keep yourself muted while you're not speaking. The mute button is on the lower left side of your screen. Next to the mute button is the video button. You are encouraged to use the video button to help us feel connected in this virtual space. The next button, well, it's not quite the next button to the right of that. It's 2 buttons over is the participants button. You can click here to see a list of everyone who is part of the conversation with us right now. And then next to that is the speech bubble button. It says chat underneath it. Please go ahead and click the chat button now if you haven't already done so, and tell us what your name is, what organization you represent. And I know that some of you were expecting this pop quiz. Tell us also what kind of rate structure you're on for your utility. So are you on time of use rates, or are you on a tiered rate structure? So if you don't know, that's okay. This is actually a reference to our training last week where I asked folks to check their bills. So if you had the benefit of joining us last week, maybe you had a chance to check your bill. But if not, no worries. We'll be, answering questions and talking a little bit more about that. The reactions button is about the second to the last or third to the last on your panel. You can give me thumbs up or applause right there. I will be asking you to use that button occasionally. So, and then there's the interpretation button. So that's the quick Zoom tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see some of what we have in store for you. So as a recap, for those of you who may want to know more about what the current emergency consumer protections are, we will be offering training number 1 again. So this is just kind of like the crib notes for that training. The upshot of this, what is happening between now and the end of the moratorium, is please help your customers keep their bills as low as possible between now and then. In March, Governor Newsom enacted a state of emergency, and this triggered emergency protections for utility customers during COVID. These protect residential customers and small businesses from electric, gas, water, and sewer shutoffs. While some aspects of phone and internet utilities are regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission, they don't actually have the authority to stop disconnections on wireless phone, cable, or internet. So customers with plain old copper wire landline telephone service are actually covered under this order. But for any other information about internet or phone protections, you would have to call the specific customer's company to get more information. So the date that we will continue to talk about for now is April 16th, 2021, because this is the date when the moratorium will end, unless something happens to expand that. Okay, let's move on to what will happen when the moratorium ends. As many of you know, because you've been in touch with TURN somehow, you've participated in a training in the past. We launched a campaign about 4 years ago, the Power at Home campaign, to stop utility disconnections. And as a part of that campaign, we had a recent huge win at the CPUC. There was a decision that now requires the utilities to decrease electric disconnections by 47%. You all helped us win that. And this is huge. So as part of that, in order to decrease disconnections this much, there are all these new great protections for consumers. So I am going to tell you about 4 of these. And there are many others. You should have received a fact sheet with a whole list of what protections we won. But for now, let's focus on these 4. So, okay, 12-month payment plans. Everyone is entitled now to get a 12-month payment plan. And the down payment on that payment plan can be no more than 20% of what is owed. How many of you, give me a thumbs up if you remember the days when you would call up the utility company on behalf of a customer who needed a payment plan for, let's say, $900. And the utility company would ask for $500 today, $200 in 2 weeks, and another $200 2 weeks after that, all while paying by requiring that the customer stay current on their new bills. Anybody remember those days? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Okay. Well, no more. They can only ask for 20% upfront, and then they have to give every customer, not just those enrolled in care, 12 full months to pay. Now, remember, that doesn't mean that you can't ask for more. We believe customers should never agree to a payment plan they cannot afford. If your client needs 16 months, 18 months, 24 months, there are no rules against you asking for it or the utility company actually giving it to your customer, to your client, but they cannot give you less than 12 months. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is real easy. No more deposits. They can no longer charge customers a deposit to set up service or as part of a reconnection after a shutoff because the customer could not pay. Okay, so that's not necessarily relevant now because no one should be being shut off now. But come April of 2021, after that date, if you have a client who's been shut off, they should not be charged a deposit for reconnection. Okay, number 3, no more paying other people's bills. We used to hear from folks at trainings like this one that their clients were often asked to pay for a previous tenant's bill. We used to get phone calls on our advocacy line about this as well. Give me a thumbs up now if you've come across this situation. Basically, a person would move into a new rental unit, put the bill in their name, and then when they got their first bill in the mail, it would be for, let's say, $800. When they called the utility company, the customer service representative would say, if you don't pay this bill, we'll shut you off. We know you used to live here. We conducted an investigation and we're not willing to share what that investigation was, who we spoke with, or what we supposedly learned from that investigation. That's not very fair, is it? So oftentimes, and then the shamelessness was that they would offer the customer a payment plan for somebody else's bill. And guess what? The customer would pay for it because they either didn't know that this was against the rules or they were simply desperate to get utility service. So now there are new rules governing this that make it harder for the utilities to get away with it. But we definitely need to hear from you if you are still finding that the utilities continue to do this. Okay, on to number 4, and this is a big one. It's got a lot of moving parts. We plan to put together a fact sheet for you. It won't be ready for the follow-up email for this training, but we will get it to you as soon as possible. The Arrearage Management Plan, or AMP. The utility companies are working hard right now to put in place an arrearage management plan for their customers. Give me a thumbs up if you know what an arrearage management plan is. Anybody know what this is? No, this is good. Okay, I don't see any thumbs up. Okay. So let's say I lost my job in March and I have been doing everything I can to keep my bill as low as possible. I signed up for care, I pay what I can, but my utility debt is growing every single month. I finally landed a job, but I'm overwhelmed because I owe my utility company $1,200. And that's on top of all the other bills I fell behind on over the last 7 months. I call up my utility company and I tell them what's happening and I need help, I need a payment plan. And they say to me, hey, you're eligible for our arrearage management plan. What does that mean? So the arrearage management plan is a year-long program. I sign up, and for every month that I pay my bill in full and on time, my utility company will forgive 1/12 of my debt. Now remember, I owe $1,200, so that means that for every bill I pay on time and in full, the utility company will forgive $100 of my debt, so that by the end of the 12 months, I will be completely utility debt free. Now, here are the details. Only CARE and FERA customers are eligible for the AMP currently. Customers must be with the IOU, with the investor-owned utility, for at least 6 months. So they have to be a customer with that, with PG&E or SDG&E for 6 months, and they have to have made at least one on-time payment. Customers must owe $500 or more, and except for Southern California gas customers, they have to owe $250 or more. The AMP will forgive a maximum of $8,000 per customer per 12-month program. That's a pretty significant chunk of money. Any debt beyond $8,000 can be paid via a payment plan after the AMP is over. The utility debt has to be at
La
least 3
deuda tiene que ser mínimo de 3 meses de anterioridad. Entonces, si yo tengo una deuda de 8 meses, sí soy elegible. Entonces, si ya tengo un plan de pagos, esto me pueden cambiar a esta AMP. Y como les dijimos anteriormente, cada mes que yo pago a tiempo, me reducen una fracción de 12.
Customers can miss up to 2 non-sequential payments. So I can miss my payment in April and then again in June, as long as I make it up the following month. But I can't miss April and then May, because then I'll just be bumped off of the AMP. Okay. Let's see. There is no impact on the forgiven debt if a customer drops out before the 12 on-time payments. So if I drop off after 6 months because I lost my job again, those 12 or those 6 months that I had previously received, so that's $600, it's still forgiven. There's no take backsies here by the utility companies. They have to, once the debt is forgiven, it's forgiven, even if I don't make it through the 12 months. If the AMP customer gets LHEAP assistance, that has to be applied to monthly bills, not to the arrearage. AMP participants who drop out of the program can re-enroll after 12 months of waiting. So there's a 12-month waiting period. And that waiting period begins the month they dropped out of the program. CARE and FERA customers who complete the program can enroll again after 12 months if they are eligible again after 12 months. AMP customers can request a levelized payment plan. So this is a plan where the bill is averaged across the 12 months. And so it's so that the customer can anticipate what their bill is going to be every month instead of having the kind of volatility that utility bills usually have. And if the customer no longer qualifies for care, so let's say I'm on care because I lost my job, but now I have a new job, but I enrolled in the AMP before I started getting paid. And then, 3 months into the AMP, I realized, oh, I no longer qualify for care. Even if I'm no longer on care, but I already started the AMP program, the utility company has to allow me to finish out my 12 months or until I fall out of the program for whatever reason. So if a customer their eligibility for care changes over the course of the 12-month AMP, and they're no longer on care, they still can complete their 12-month program. I know that this is a lot of information. And once the program is up and running in the coming months, we'll be sharing a lot more information, as I said previously. If you'd like to learn more about the AMP, please go ahead and share that with us through the chat box. Give us your email address again so we know to kind of keep you up to date about what is happening with the arrearage management program. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. We're going to have question and answer session right at the end. So I'd like to hand over the microphone now to my colleague Constance so she can share a little bit more information with you.
Thank you, Gabriela. You can just put me on the screen and then I'll tell you when we're gonna go to thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm gonna continue on the theme of getting the financial assistance to pay the bills after the moratorium ends. But I'm gonna spend the bulk of my time discussing program assistance and things that advocates and service providers should encourage folks to consider post April 21st, when the moratorium is currently anticipated to or scheduled to end. And I do want to make a note that right now the moratorium is scheduled to end on April 16th of 2021, but there could be changes in this date. And of course, we at Turn will keep you posted if there are changes. The date would definitely not be sooner, but the date could be extended through the CPUC. Finally, some notes on the importance of conservation as a strategy to reduce cost, because customers should be doing everything they can now to keep their bills low as possible. Simple conservation tips, such as turning off the lights when they're not in use. My daughter should be on this call because she never does it. Using surge protectors in order to unplug appliances and save energy when they're not in use. Using when things like chargers and clocks aren't in use. Using appliances such as dishwashers and washing machines only when they're completely full, and trying to use them during off-peak. Including a dry towel in your dryer helps your clothes dry faster, which reduces the time that you need to run your dryer and conserves energy. Keeping a couple of gallons of water in the refrigerator to make sure your refrigerator is cool, or to make sure that your refrigerator is full, is also helpful. And another helpful tip is putting water in your freezer, maybe a nice big gallon, that also helps keep your freezer cool and is super helpful when you lose energy as well. Replacing your light bulbs. These are practical things. So replace your light bulbs with LED or energy efficient light bulbs and turn down the thermostat on your water heater. Something that's a little bit more challenging to do for some of us is to clean the coils on the back of your refrigerator regularly. Those build up and it makes it more difficult for your refrigerator to run, which burns more energy. These conservation tips save pennies. And each time we do them, those pennies add up to dollars. And with time, those dollars add up to real annual savings of hundreds of dollars. So now we're going to spend a little time on making sure that people are getting the financial assistance that they need to pay the bills. This is important because right now, people have had a change in this is really important because right now, many people have had a change in their income and or their family structure, and where they may not have qualified for programs like CARE and FERA in the past, but based on their current circumstances, or in this instance, their post-moratorium circumstances, they may be newly eligible as the moratorium ends. And so you and your clients should truly consider a few things. Has the family size changed? Have you taken in a new family member or full-time caregiver? Many families are taking in their elderly folks. You can go back a little bit, Gabriela, I'll tell you when. Have you taken in elderly family members? Have you taken in a caregiver to help with your children now that there's no school? These are changes in your family size and now would be considered for your eligibility for programs like CARE and FERA. Has your overall income in the home changed through a loss of a job or through decreased work hours? While a lot of folks have lost their job, many more have experienced a decrease in their work hours or their productivity. These are issues that can take families who previously did not qualify for CARE or FERA or other programs into the category that post-moratorium, they would indeed qualify for services. And finally, has someone in the home suffered declining health or a significant health event that would make them medically vulnerable and or eligible for medical baseline? These are issues that you should discuss with folks in your home and also discuss with a medical provider or get some consultation. Many folks are now experiencing issues, and have had some medical issues during this time, including COVID, which we're now learning a lot more about is unfortunately not as simple as you get a cold or you get a flu. And folks are experiencing extreme respiratory issues that they never had before and are requiring more energy, whether it's through ventilators or it's triggered asthma and or need better heating or more heating and cooling. This would make someone in your household or you or one of your clients qualified for medical baseline, whereas in the past, pre-moratorium, they may not have. So these are all things that should be considered as we begin taking care of our customers, our clients, and our community post-moratorium. I'll take this slide now, Gabriela. So in previous trainings, we've covered CARE, FERA, and medical baseline. And I'm going to do that as a review. If you did not join our previous training, then this may not be review for you, but if you did, it will be review. And for those of you who did not get a chance, you will have an opportunity to join our winter training on CARE and FERA. As a reminder, CARE is a program available to customers whose household income falls below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. If you take a look at your fact sheets, you'll find the exact numbers. The CARE program provides a 30 to 35% discount on electricity and an additional 20% discount on natural gas. Savings could range from $400 to $650 annually. FERA is a program for people who make just a little bit more money to qualify, just a little bit too much money to qualify for care. And customers qualify for FERA if their household has at least 3 or more members and their household income falls between 200 and 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. FERA customers receive a lower discount of about 18% on their bills, and this too adds up to a savings of about $140 each year. FERA is tremendously under-enrolled. Fewer than 20% of customers eligible for FERA are actually enrolled. And so this is one action item that I encourage each of you on this call to take up, and that is to ask everyone that you come in contact with, are you enrolled in FERA? Do you know about FERA? This is an action that you can take to advance utility justice in California just by asking that question. And we want to get the FERA enrollment up so that people are taking advantage of it and getting the discounts that they need and that they deserve in order to have energy in their homes. Now, applications for CARE and FERA can be found online at the utility company's website. Customers don't need to provide proof of income at the time of applying for CARE or FERA. And Medical Baseline, which we're going to talk about next, is also available to all investor-owned utility customers, regardless of their immigration status, and cannot be used against customers undergoing naturalization as part of the public charge rule. So let's talk about Medical Baseline. At Turn, similar to FERA, but probably even more so, we consider Medical Baseline the best kept secret, and we're not happy about it. So again, we need your help as service providers, advocates, and community leadership to ensure that anyone qualified for Medical Baseline is introduced to Medical Baseline and gets signed up. Only between 10 and 20% of eligible customers are enrolled in Medical Baseline. And Medical Baseline is available to any customer who uses a medical device that uses gas or electricity, or any customer who requires additional heating or cooling to maintain their health. There is no income requirements for Medical Baseline. There are no income requirements for Medical Baseline. And customers can receive Medical Baseline discounts in addition to CARE and FERA. Customers on Medical Baseline may receive discounts ranging from $250 to $550 annually. And if they qualify for CARE or FERA, we're now talking about discounts, annual discounts that could exceed over $1,000 for customers. Now, right now, because of COVID, customers can fill out the Medical Baseline application online and submit it without having to have it certified by a healthcare professional or medical provider. This is indeed an exemption from how Medical Baseline normally works. So if you are doing outreach to community now, and they do have a need for Medical Baseline, now is a great time to enroll because they don't have to go through that extra process of getting verification or documentation from a medical provider. Medical providers may in the future be asked to validate their medical status. But right now is a great time for us to get folks enrolled. And you can take on an activist role right now by asking both of those questions. Are you getting the FERA discount that you need? And do you qualify and have a need for a medical baseline? Now, finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about LHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And this program is administered by the federal government, and it provides small grants and other supports to utility customers. Because LHEAP is a federal program, some administrators will not make it available to customers who do not have a Social Security number. But you should check with your local LHEAP provider to see if they are accepting customers without a Social Security number. We have found over the years that the administration of LHEAP has fluctuated between local providers. Another important source of cash assistance are programs run through companies like PG&E, who has a REACH program. Southern California Edison has an energy assistance program. San Diego Gas and Electric has the Neighbor to Neighbor program. These are cash assistance programs, and if you need more information on them, the best way to get it is go directly to the website for the energy provider, and they have all the information on their website to help support getting that cash assistance. On that note, I will pass the mic back to Gabriela to close us out, and we will soon open up the floor for questions.
Okay, so what can you do to make an impact? You can sign up to become a member of TURN and to receive our action alerts by visiting turn.org/action. You can also sign up to take other trainings in this series. We will be talking about medical baseline and planned outages next Wednesday. Very timely topic at the moment. Lots of planned outages in order to prevent wildfires. So we'll be having, I'm sure will be a lively discussion about medical baseline and planned outages next week. Finally, you can help us improve these trainings by filling out the online evaluation form or by sending us your feedback via email. We're particularly interested to hear what worked well for you, what we can improve, and any other topics that you'd like us to discuss in future trainings. You'll find the evaluation link in the chat box. And I'll be sending it to you as well in a follow-up email. Let me also, just before I open up for questions, I'd like to give our Executive Director, Mark Toney, a moment to just say hello and introduce himself to everyone, since he was able to join us today.
Hello, Mark Toney, he, him, his pronouns. I'm the Executive Director of TURN. I am joining you from unceded Pomo territory in what is now also known as Lake County. Thank you everybody for joining, and we appreciate your partnership to fight to make sure that everyone in California has access to basic utility service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. With that, if folks have questions, you can put them in the chat box or raise your hand and we
We have
can.
a question that has just come in. It says, do electricity new regulations pertain to also irrigation districts or only PG&E that provide electric services?
Yeah, sadly, the irrigation districts are municipal utility companies. And so they are not regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. So those protections do not apply. You can look up, I included our municipal fact sheet in the materials for this training and get a little bit more information there about what kinds of recourse you might have available to you. We are in the process of translating that fact sheet, so I'll be sending all of those materials along with the translated fact sheet shortly.
And I want to respond to a question that came in. I did mistakenly put the wrong date of the training as November 24th in the chat. And it is, you are correct. The next training date is next week on Wednesday, November 4th. The link is correct. When you go to the link, it will show the November 4th date. I do apologize for the typo. There is a question that came in, I think came in privately. It says, if a family is renting a room, can their landlord legally turn off PG&E services, or are they also protected?
Is the question about the landlord disconnecting them to try to evict them, or who asked the question?
This might be helpful if the person takes himself off mute and asks a question, so we can get clarification. That'd be helpful for me. In order to take yourself off of mute, if you don't know how, go to the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you toggle your, what is this called? What is this called? What is this? If you toggle over the bottom of the screen, you'll see an area that says mute with a microphone. Click on the mute. It'll be red if it is muted. And once you click on it, it will unmute you and you'll be able to speak. Cursor, toggle your cursor. Is there any other questions? Hopefully that person can figure it out and they can ask their question. If you are a monolingual Spanish speaker and you ask that question, we can have the interpreter provide interpretation to help support getting an answer to that question.
While they're figuring that out, another person asked the question, where can we find the medical baseline forms?
All the medical baseline forms are online. You can go directly to the website of your energy provider. If it is PG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, or Southern California Edison, or Southern California Gas, and you can just put in medical baseline, and the first thing that's going to pop up is a page explaining what medical baseline is, how you qualify, with a link to the application.
And as Constance shared earlier, you can fill it all out online. There's no need for a medical certification at the moment. And so it goes, I just walked a client through the process last week via text. It was the easiest medical baseline registration ever. So it's, as Constance said earlier, it's a good time to take advantage of how easy it is to register.
If I may say something to the question of, can a landlord shut off a tenant utility service? I would say the answer is absolutely not. I cannot think of a reason why a landlord ever has the right to do that. They cannot do it because they want to evict somebody. That is illegal. And if you have this situation, get in touch with Constance.
And we have another question that came in. Would an air humidifier count for the medical baseline?
Okay, and we have
An answer.
audience participation. So the utilities websites, some of them will say that an air humidifier does not count. So here's the thing. If your medical practitioner would say to you that you require an air humidifier in order for your health to not deteriorate, and they will sign the form, the certification form, then you may still be able to get medical baseline for that air humidifier. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, we are available to you. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen again with our email addresses. We'll linger for a minute in case you'd like to, just ask a question as folks file out. And we hope to see you again next week when we talk about medical baseline in more detail and about planned outages and how medical baseline is working to help notify people about planned outages. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.